Not for just picking up a charger from my sister's place. But there it was, that faint trace of vanilla and something I couldn't name, floating behind her like a scent she didn't mean to leave behind. "I won't be long," she said, brushing past me like I was part of the furniture. I didn't stop her. I just whispered behind her as the door closed. "Take your time. You won't find anything left here for you." She didn't hear me, but that didn't matter because I hadn't said it for her. I said it for the version of me that finally understood what she thought I'd never notice. For weeks, maybe longer, something had been off. Her phone started living face down like it was ashamed. Her laundry had lipstick smudges I didn't leave. And she started smiling at her screen in a way she hadn't smiled at me since the pandemic. So I waited. I waited until the water heater started its groaning in the pipes, until the hallway smelled like wet leaves and dryer sheets, until she slipped out one more time, careless and sure of herself. And I finally had my moment. The box was already packed. Her name wasn't on the bank account anymore, and the little silver USB drive with the files she accidentally backed up to the cloud. It was sitting on the coffee table with a yellow post-it note that read, "This time I watched the footage first." Because 3 days ago I found something she thought she'd deleted. A video. A 5-second clip of her entering a hotel room. Not with her sister, not with a charger, but with someone whose hand she held like they'd done it 100 times before. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream. I didn't ask questions she'd only lie through. I just pressed play, hit download, and waited. So when she said, "I won't be long," I didn't argue, because by the time she got back, she wouldn't be coming home at all. It's strange how quiet a home can get once you've made peace with letting go. No more checking the clock, no pacing the hallway, no pretending that background noise means everything's fine. I sat on the couch, barely breathing, staring at the door she walked out of an hour earlier. She hadn't texted. I didn't expect her to. Ruthie had a habit of disappearing behind casual lies. "I'll be quick" always meant don't ask questions. But tonight, for the first time, I wasn't asking. I was preparing. While she was gone, I opened the laptop and dragged a folder called Work Receipts onto a flash drive. It was locked behind a password she used for everything. Her first dog's name, Pumpkin. I didn't even have to guess. I knew her too well. Unfortunately for her, so did he. The messages I found were sickeningly detailed. He called her my getaway girl. She called him Captain. They joked about how dumb I was. They laughed about my cooking, the playlist I made her last Christmas, even the way I said "love you" out of habit. It wasn't just betrayal. It was mockery. One of the screenshots showed a dinner reservation. The name was under his card, but the photo Ruthie sent before the meal was taken in our kitchen mirror. She was wearing the black dress I once bought for her birthday. The same dress she said didn't fit anymore. I had been so naive. I believed the zipper broke. Turns out she just didn't want it associated with me anymore. I moved through the house like a ghost, grabbing the last of my things. My toothbrush, the shoebox under the bed with the letters I never sent her, my father's old wristwatch. Everything else she could have it. I wasn't about to waste energy fighting over forks and picture frames. Let her build her new life on the ruins of the one she buried with secrets. As the clock hit 11:14 p.m., her car pulled into the driveway. I didn't panic. I didn't even flinch. I stood there in the center of the living room, duffel bag in hand, flash drive on the coffee table, and the front door already unlocked. Ruthie walked in like nothing was wrong, until she saw me standing there, silent, smiling. "Where are you going?" she asked, keys still dangling from her fingers. I looked her in the eyes and said calmly, "I told you to take your time. There's nothing left here for you." She blinked like she didn't understand the words, but she would very soon. She didn't speak at first, just stood in the entryway, purse slung over her shoulder like nothing had changed. But the silence around her wasn't the same one she left. It was hollow, echoing, like the house already knew she didn't belong anymore. I watched her scan the room, eyes pausing on the missing pictures, the suitcase by the door, the faint outline on the wall where our wedding photo used to hang. That's when I saw it, the shift. Her face didn't crumble, but it twitched just for a second, like she realized I wasn't bluffing. I don't understand. What is this? She said, her voice coated in forced calm. I didn't answer. Not right away. I just picked up the flash drive and set it gently in her palm. This is the part where I stopped pretending I didn't know. She looked at the drive like it might burn her fingers. What is this? You know what it is? I said the hotel videos, the messages, the voice note where you told him you felt alive again and how dead you felt with me. Her hand dropped to her side, still clutching the drive. Marlo, I can explain. And that's when I laughed. Not because it was funny. It wasn't. But because hearing those words, I can explain, after everything I'd seen, felt like someone offering a bucket of water to a house that was already ash. I'm sure you can, I said. But I'm not interested anymore. She stepped forward, desperate now. Please don't do this. You're overreacting. It didn't mean anything. I cut her off. It meant everything. You just didn't think I'd notice. I walked past her and opened the door. Cold air rushed in. It felt like a baptism. I've transferred the lease. You'll find my name is gone. I've already signed the exit papers. The locks change tomorrow. You can sleep here tonight. One last time. Her face was frozen, half defiant, half terrified. She tried to speak, but her throat betrayed her. I didn't wait for a response. I stepped out, closed the door behind me, and walked down the stairs without looking back. Because this time, I didn't need closure. I already had proof and freedom. Freedom was finally louder than my heartbreak. I didn't have a destination, just distance. I drove for hours with the windows down, letting the October air slice through my thoughts. My phone buzzed over and over in the cup holder, but I didn't look. I knew it was her. The same woman who once begged me not to leave when I was sick with pneumonia, now suddenly wanted to talk after months of lying with another man. I let it ring, let it die, let her spiral in the silence. I stopped at a highway motel 2 towns over. It smelled like bleach and sadness. Perfect. I collapsed on the creaky bed, still dressed, staring at the cracks in the ceiling like they were constellations I was too tired to name. My body was numb, but my mind raced through every moment I thought had been real. Her laugh in the kitchen, her hand finding mine during horror movies, her saying she wanted a future with kids, a porch, a dog. How many of those dreams had she been borrowing from someone else? At 2:13 a.m., I did something I promised myself I wouldn't do. I opened my messages, not to read hers. I ignored every "please call me" and "we need to talk." No, I opened my notes app and wrote a message I'd never send. Not for her, for me. You killed the version of me that trusted easily, that brought home flowers for no reason, that believed in us even when you already knew there was a him. I didn't leave because you cheated. I left because you stayed in this house every day. Looked me in the eyes and still chose to be cruel. I stared at those words until my screen dimmed. Then I turned off the light and let the darkness do what it does best. Swallow everything. By morning I was driving again, but before I left town I made one last stop, our mailbox. She wouldn't think to check it for a few days. Inside I left a single envelope. No return address, no words, just a printed photo, grainy but clear. Ruthie walking out of that hotel with him, hand in hand. You see, I didn't just download the files. I sent a copy to her mother, to her boss, and one to her inbox titled, "Don't worry, I'll be along." I don't know why I circled back. Maybe it was habit, maybe curiosity, or maybe some part of me wanted to see the consequences with my own eyes. Not for closure, not for revenge, but just to confirm that the truth really did detonate the world she built on lies. It was the following Thursday when I parked 3 blocks from our old street. I didn't go to the door. I didn't even pull into the driveway. I stayed hidden, watching from behind the wheel like a stranger. And there she was, Ruthie, standing on the porch barefoot, phone in one hand, cigarette in the other. She didn't smoke. Not until now. She looked wrecked, hair tied up in a mess, still wearing the hoodie I used to sleep in. Her face was pale, mascara smudged like she'd forgotten she wasn't supposed to cry. She paced back and forth like she didn't know what to do with her hands, her phone, or her reality. I didn't smile. I didn't feel triumphant. It actually hurt more than I thought it would. Not because I still loved her, but because this was the version of her I once promised to protect. And now I was the one who broke that promise. Because I finally stopped trying. I turned the key in the ignition, but before I drove away, I saw her freeze. She looked toward the street like she could feel me there, like some ghost of our past was standing at the edge of her comfort zone, daring her to chase it. She didn't. She just stood still, clutching the phone. Later that night, I got an email from her. The subject line was just one word. Why? I didn't open it. She didn't deserve answers. She had ignored every moment I tried to talk, every subtle change in my mood, every quiet sigh at the dinner table. She had watched me shrink for years and only noticed the silence once I stopped using it to hold her up. But just for myself, I wrote a reply I never sent because I needed you to see what I saw. A stranger in my bed, a liar in my house, a reflection that didn't look like love anymore. You didn't lose me the night I walked away. You lost me every time I sat alone waiting for a version of you that no longer existed. It took her 6 days to show up. I knew it would happen eventually. Ruthie always hated being ignored more than being hated. To her, silence was an insult, not a wound. And I'd given her nothing but that since the night I walked away. Not a text, not a word, nothing. I was staying at a friend's place in a small, quiet apartment above a hardware store. A temporary hiding spot that smelled like sawdust and old paint. I liked it. It didn't expect anything from me. I was in the middle of heating up leftover soup when I heard the knock. Not a knock, actually, more like a soft tapping, hesitant. The sound of someone who's not sure they should be there. I opened the door and there she was. Hair brushed, makeup barely on, wearing the coat I bought her 2 Christmases ago, the one she said was too soft but wore anyway when she wanted to look innocent. She didn't say hi, just looked at me and whispered, "Please." I didn't move. I didn't even blink. "Please, what?" "I don't know," she said, her voice cracking. "Please talk to me. Please yell at me. Just don't be like this." And there it was, that moment, that aching, infuriating truth. She hadn't come for me. She came for the version of me who needed her, the version she could control with a pout or a tear. But that version was gone, and all that remained was the echo of someone she never really understood. I stepped aside, not to let her in, just to hand her a folder from the table. Inside were printed screenshots, hotel confirmations, and the final divorce draft with my signature already on it. "I'm not here to fix anything," I said. "I'm here to finish what you broke." Her face went pale, not dramatic, not performative, just hollow, like she finally realized this wasn't a tantrum, this wasn't a phase. This was reality. "I made a mistake," she whispered. "No," I said. "You made a series of decisions. A mistake is something you spill. You destroyed something you swore to protect." She didn't cry. Not then. She just held the folder, turned, and walked away without saying another word. For once, she didn't promise she'd be back. And I didn't wait to hear the door close. The next morning I woke up before the sun did. Not out of anxiety, not because I was restless. I just didn't need the sleep anymore. That part of me, the one that clung to rest as an escape, was gone. When your world falls apart quietly, your body stops screaming for peace. You learn to live in the echo. I sat by the window sipping instant coffee that tasted like punishment and watched the street come alive below me. Joggers, dog walkers, early shift workers dragging their feet. All of them unaware that somewhere above them, a man had just finished unloving his wife. There's no instruction manual for that. No app, no Reddit thread detailed enough to tell you what to do after you give someone your whole heart, and they leave it next to someone else's shoes in a hotel hallway. You just improvise, grieve in weird ways. For me, it was organizing files. For 3 hours, I sorted documents, photos, bills, deleting some, renaming others. There was something strangely therapeutic about it, like cleaning out the emotional attic. That's when I found it. A voicemail from 2 months ago I never listened to. The transcript preview was blank, but the timestamp put it at 2:41 a.m. The night I remembered waking up alone and assuming she was in the bathroom. I hit play. Her voice came through, soft, drunk, laughing. But it wasn't for me. "Say something," she giggled. Then a man's voice. "You're unbelievable." Then her again. "He has no idea. I feel bad sometimes, but not enough to stop." And a message. I didn't throw the phone. I didn't scream. I just sat there letting the quiet fold over me again. And for the first time since this all began, I didn't feel broken. I felt finished. Not with her. With me. The version that once believed if I just loved hard enough, she'd come back whole. That version was buried now. And all that remained was someone new. Still aching, still whiny maybe, but no longer in denial. Because the truth, the real betrayal, wasn't in the cheating. It was in how small she let me become while she smiled across the dinner table. 2 weeks have passed since I last saw Ruthie. No emails, no knocks, no apologies carefully dressed as explanations. Just quiet. And I've learned that sometimes silence isn't a punishment. It's protection. I've moved out of the apartment above the hardware store. I found a small place outside the city. Nothing glamorous. 1 bedroom, a crooked mailbox, and a view of the woods that looks like it's always on the edge of rain. But it's mine. The coffee still tastes like punishment, but now it's my punishment. And for some reason that makes it bearable. I kept the divorce simple. No courtroom drama, no drawn-out arguments. Just a clean line drawn through a love that once held weight and now meant nothing. The papers are finalized. My name stands alone now. What surprises me most is that I don't miss her. I thought I would. I thought I'd lie awake imagining her voice or wondering if she ever cried over what she lost. But I don't. I sleep better now. Not deeper, but calmer. There's no weight pressing on my chest. No pretending I'm okay to keep her from feeling guilty. I don't need her guilt. I needed my freedom. I've started writing again. Not messages I'll never send or speeches I rehearse in my head. Just writing things that make me feel something. Poems, lists, dreams. It's clumsy and raw, but it's honest. And that's more than I had for years. She once said I was too soft for this world. maybe I am. But I've learned that being soft doesn't mean being stupid. It means I held on until it hurt. And when it hurt too much, I let go. That was the bravest thing I've ever done. So if you're still reading this and you're sitting in your own silence, wondering if you're crazy for leaving or for staying too long before you did, you're not. Sometimes the quietest exit is the loudest act of self-respect. And sometimes the best revenge is the peace they can't take from you. Have you ever had to walk away from something you thought you'd never survive losing, only to realize it saved you?